Welcome to the news. I am Sajo Breto. Justice Basiru VP Mahoney yesterday ruled that the actions of the mayor of Banjul in issuing attestations to residents in the IEC's general voter registration are in contravention of Section 12, subsection 2E of the Elections Act. Justice Mahoney further declared that the actions of the Independent Electoral Commission in conferring the power to the office of the mayor of Banjul to administer attestation forms generated by the IEC for the purpose of claiming voter cards in the city of Banjul contravenes Section 12, subsection 2E of the Elections Act. The judge further disclosed that the Elections Act provides that documents for registration of voter cards are birth certificates, national ID cards, Gambian passport, documents certified by the Alkalolo or district chiefs. He further disclosed that the list of documents to be presented for registration was determined by Gambian lawmakers. Mamburen Jai, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, has commended the World Bank's support to the Gambia and expressed hope that the partnership with the bank will remain strong and of mutual benefit as they continue to work in the service of the people of the Gambia. The minister was speaking at Fajara on the occasion of the official opening of a new office complex of the World Bank in the Gambia. Njai said the very existence of the new office is an indication of the bank's long-term commitment to partnering with the government of the Gambia. Meanwhile, the Independent Electoral Commission has revealed registering over 900,000 Gambians in the just-ended voter registration exercise. In a statement on Monday, the IEC said 559,000 females and 427,000 males formed the provisional total number of registered voters. According to the IEC, the provisional list of voters shall now be displayed at the various registration centers where they were compiled for 10 days. It shall be followed by the establishment of the revising courts to decide on the objections and appeals on provisional list. That's it for the papers. Let's go for a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The High Court in Banjul on Wednesday sentenced former APRC junta member Yankuba Touray to death by hanging after finding him guilty of murdering former Finance Minister Ousmane Koro Cisse. Our editor-in-chief Lamin Jai was there covering the event and he now tells us more.
Guilty as charged, Yankuba Touray looked on as the judge passed the judgment, his hands behind his back. The guilty verdict came at exactly 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Justice Ibrahima Jaita said the prosecution had proven its case beyond reasonable doubt.
I have no cogent reason to disbelieve the testimonies of the prosecution witnesses because defense witnesses themselves admitted that there was no reason for the prosecution witnesses to lie against the accused person. I have had the opportunity to watch the accused person, our Minty, Mami Minty, closely when they were giving evidence. I must say that their demeanors were not convincing at all, and I am not persuaded by it. As Mami Minty and our Minty admitted on the cross-examination that they would do anything possible to make the accused person happy and protect him. In my view, these admissions on cross-examination leave much to be desired. I am therefore satisfied that the prosecution has sufficiently established the constituent elements of the offense as charged. I am further satisfied that the prosecution has proved their case beyond reasonable doubt, and the accused person, Yankuba Touray, is accordingly found guilty and convicted as charged.
The judge said he believed the testimony of Alaji Kanyi and 3 others who testified in the case, whose testimonies, he said, depicted the true picture of how Mr. Ousmane Koro Cisse was murdered in cold blood in 1995.
The testimony of Alaji Kanyi shows a grand scheme of conspiracy by Edward Singate, Peter Singate, and the accused person to kill Usman Koro Sisi. Alaji Kanyi gave evidence that they, BK Jata, Tumbul Tamba, and Pa Aliu Gomez, were briefed by Edward Singate when they were going to get rid of someone, and they were taken to the residence of the accused person in Kersering. Alaji Kanyi stated that at the time of arrival at the residence of the accused person, there were no guards or family members of the accused in his residence. Alaji Kanyi further gave evidence of how Edward Singate and Peter Singate went to the airport while he was instructed to be on guard at the residence of the accused person. Alaji Kanyi also gave evidence that the said Edward Singate and Peter Singate returned to the residence of the accused person from the airport. He stated that the accused person came with them to his residence. Alaji Kanyi further gave evidence that Edward Singate arrived at the residence of the accused person with the disease, and it was signaled to him, Alaji Kanyi, by Edward Singate that the disease was the one to be killed. Alaji Kanyi further went on to give eyewitness account of how Peter Singate used a pistol to hit the disease, followed by Edward Singate. He also gave evidence that the accused person also used the same pistol to hit the disease, whom at the time fell on the ground. He also gave evidence that BK Jata, Tumbul Tamba, Pa Ali Gomez, and himself were instructed by the accused, by Edward Singate, to hit the disease with the said pistol, which they did. I have observed the demeanor of Alaji Kanyi whilst testifying in tears as to how Usman Koro Sisi was bulgoing to death. In my view, the tears from Alaji Kanyi were not crocodile tears. They were tears of remorse and regret. Alaji Kanyi testified that the place was full of blood and that Edward Singate instructed them to place the body of Usman Koro Sisi in his official vehicle, which they did. Alaji Kanyi also gave evidence of how they, BK Jata, Tumbul Tamba, Pa Aliu Gomez, and himself were instructed to clean the blood in the house of the accused person, while Edward Singate, Peter Singate, and the accused himself left with the body of the deceased. I must say that the above piece of evidence by Alaji Kanyi shows that the accused person was a primary participant in the killing of Usman Koro Sisi. Alaji Kanyi, as an eyewitness, stated how the accused person, together with Edward Singate, Peter Singate, BK Jata, Tumbul Tamba, Pa Aliu Gomez, and himself used a pistol to hit Usman Koro Sisi to death. Alaji Kanyi's evidence also shows that when they finished hitting the deceased to death with the said pistol, they placed his body in the deceased official vehicle. I must say clearly that this evidence has not been materially controverted or challenged by the accused person, and there was no enough cross-examination to destroy the veracity of the evidence of Alaji Kanyi.
The judge had wanted to adjourn the case for sentencing, but Mr. Touray's lawyer said sentencing in such a case was simple and there was no need to return to court on another day when the Eid is just around the corner. The judge then took about 5 minutes and then handed out his sentence.
Having found the convict guilty of murder, the murder of Usman Koro Sisi in cold blood, and having considered that this court does not have any discretion under Section 188 of the Criminal Code, the convict Yankuba Touray is hereby sentenced to death. And pursuant to Section 252 of the Criminal Procedure Code, the said sentence of death shall be by hanging.
Mr. Touray declined to speak to the FAD network as prison police officers escorted him out of the courtroom.
Mr. Touray, do you have any comment? Careful. Mr. Touray, do you have a comment?
Touray's lawyer said they would mount an appeal of the conviction and the sentencing.
We're going to file an appeal, simply sitter. I will talk to my client, hopefully we'll file an appeal.
You will file an appeal?
Thank you.
A small crowd of sympathizers who were in court to stand in support of Mr. Touray were dissatisfied by the judge's verdict.
Because need to take a
more d'accord.
d'accord ñu because Alaaji Kanji dafa war a ñëw.
That is some of the people.
Ibrahima Jete is a liar. They're all the same people.
You mean the judge?
They're the one who killed Kono Cisse. It's not Yankuba Touray. Yankuba Touray has nothing to do with Kono Cisse's death. He will be free. My father, Jawaras days, my father, Alai Tumani Minte, was sentenced to death. But he was free. The Court of Appeal. Yes. Ibrahima Jete is a liar.
So you are saying the judge is a liar?
He's a liar. He's a judge. He's a liar.
Are you insulting the judge?
But he's telling the truth. There's no truth in it. He's one-sided.
What are you going to do?
What we're going to do, we live in Almighty Allah.
What are you to Yankuba Touray? What are you to Mr. Touray?
I'm his brother.
So that is a brother there. So you are also not happy?
I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy, and this will not happen in the Gambia. It will never happen in the Gambia. And if this thing will happen in the Gambia, the whole Gambia will be there. Nobody can see this. No, we don't. Hey.
So those are the reactions from some of the people that are here.
Ci soxor ak añaan loolu lañ ko tëjee waaye lu tax ñu bàyyi ñeneen ñi moom ñu ne dañ koo tëj live.
yaa booy leen ko tuddee yow salal la.
Yankuba Touray suma doom la Yankuba Touray moom a yóbbu Màkka suma doom la. lii dañ ko yàgg a tooga dañ ko yàgg a tooga. dañ ko yàgg a mere. dañ ko yàgg a tooga. ci loo xam ne du dëgg.
soo déggee jooj bi
yàlla baax na.
justice dégul soo déggee justice Ibrahima Jete lu ma waxee lu ma ridee his ruling mu ngi laa woon ne la su ma ku gis li déglu ko I've been following this court ku la gis xam ne this part of the organized conspiracy and campaign against Yaya Jammeh and the APRC lu xew mooy ne soo déggee tey justice Jete li ma waxee li nga xam ne Edward Singate moom mi nga xam ne moo di author of all this nonsense the main guy behind this ñu invite ko ci APRC yaa ma dégg xam ne c'est modérat ñu ba ko mu dem yoonam parce que so it's by proxy so dañ jël Yankuba Touray yaa ma dégg toroxal ko because dem na APRC bañ a wax and you know it was a stage protest outside the APRC waaye yàlla ko Musa rek ni ko doon rey su génnoon foofu so mu ngi laa woon ne dëkk bi fii yaa ma dégg is becoming lawlessness dañ ko jaay doole and you know that my brother dañ ko jaay doole soo déggee li ma wax yëpp mu ngi wax affaire Edward Singate is responsible for all this mess dañ ko jaay doole waaye nag we gonna appeal su neexee yàlla we gonna appeal yes we gonna appeal.
am ngeen confidence ne soo leen appeal bi di ngeen soog.
of course because ma la wax mooy ñoom nañ jël rek Alaaji Kanji yow nga ne yow alone yow la donc Tumu Tamba Edward Singate Pile Singate yaa ma dégg ngeen bàyyi ko mu dem yoonam ngeen jël kii di ko toroxal because ñu ne APRC bañ a wax it's a conspiracy. Yes, the conspiracy.
So Yankuba is being used as a scapegoat.
Of course. Edward Singate moom nga wane the testimony of Alaaji Kanji is credible te Alaaji Kanji mu ngi implicate Edward Singate so Edward Singate is the author of the death of Kono Cisse. He's the main guy behind this. dañ ko bëgg a jaay doole rek moo tax ñu def ko ni ñu ko def nii boo di waaye of course he is illegally sentenced today. He's an innocent somebody. Yankuba is a nice man. You all know that. I've been following this from day one. Honorable Babukar Nyang. Understand? So I know what's going on. Then go use as a scapegoat. You know, it's a conspiracy and campaign against the APRC government on Yaya Jammeh. So they have to be very careful. They have to be very, very careful. Kuma am ndey ak so Yankuba Touray amul ndey. When you am ndey mo Alaaji Kanji ak ero singate abila singate ñu bayla ñu def seen yoon lo mu ngi laaw ne dëkk bi amul ben lo lu leen neex ñoo décider di constitution of the Gambia fonkati ko dañ ko tege bor amatu ben njëriñ di constitution of the Gambia de these guys in the judiciary amatu ñu respect for it police they are not fair man brother.
Thank you. So, viewers, that is the development here at the High Court in Banjul. Well, since this case started way back in 2019, when Mr. Yankuba Touray appeared before the TRRC and refused to testify, saying he had constitutional immunity, that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that Mr. Touray must stand trial for the murder of Koro Ceesay. So, judgment came today. This judgment was an extensive, very lengthy marathon judgment there by Justice Ibrahim Jete. He looked at a number of issues. One thing that he looked at, he relied heavily on the testimony of Alhaji Kanyi. Alhaji Kanyi came to court, admitted taking part, that he was an accomplice in the murder of Koro Ceesay. He went through everything, how they murdered the plan, from the planning, how it was staged, and how they bludgeoned Mr. Koro Ceesay way back in June 1995. To death. So the judge relied heavily on that, but also the judge also looked at a number of issues. One thing also he looked at has to do with the issue of proving the case beyond reasonable doubt. That burden lied with the prosecution, but according to the judge, the prosecution proved their case beyond reasonable doubt. The other issue has to do with the issue of alibi. Mr. Touray came to court. Initially, when he was arrested by the police, he refused to speak. He said he had constitutional immunity and he was not going to say anything. So one thing in court that happened is when he opened his defense and he was testifying in his own case, Mr. Touray said that the day or the night Mr. Koro Ceesay was murdered, he was in fact there. He said he went to the airport to see of the then President Yahya Jammeh, and then from there he went to State House, where he met the commander of the State House, Mr. Lantomon Tamba, that he chatted with Mr. Tamba. So this is alibi that the judge rejected. He said he should have told police this, so that the police can investigate and try to find out the veracity of this. But he said this never happened, and he came to court, and when he was being cross-examined, the prosecution asked him whether he was ready to call the former president's driver, who is alive, as well as Mr. Langton Montamba, but he said no. So as a result, he dismissed that, and subsequently he convicted. He found Mr. Touray guilty of murdering Koro. Initially, what he wanted to do was to adjourn and then later return with the sentencing. But the lawyer of Mr. Touray said he should just go ahead and hand over the sentencing. And in his sentencing, it was actually very quick. In a space of 2-3 minutes, he came out with his sentencing, and he sentenced Mr. Touray to death. According to the 187 of the Criminal Procedural Code, he sentenced him to death. And this death, he said, should come by way of hanging. Lamin Jai reporting for the Fatu Network here at the High Court in Banjul.
Guilty as...
Well, welcome back, viewers, from that report done by our editor-in-chief, Lamin Jai. And now I am joined by the deputy spokesperson of the APRC, Mr. Durija. Welcome to the Fatu Network.
Thank you, Sajo, for having me on the news review once again. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's been quite a day in the Gambia today, as former APRC junta member Yankuba Touray was finally sentenced by the High Court of the Gambia. I'm not asking you as your capacity, as the deputy PRO of the party, but as a political commentator, what do you make of his sentencing today?
It came rather shocking when the news was announced that he sentenced to death by hanging. I, for one, I'm not surprised. They think back to where it all began, when he was invited at the TRRC, and he refused to utter or to talk about the issue that he was brought for. He lodged a claim that he has immunity as per the 1997 Constitution. The reaction that happened, and later by then, the Minister of Justice was Batambedu, statements he uttered that he will be taught a lesson and they will throw the books at him. That's such a statement I've never had as far as the judicial system was concerned to be mentioned publicly. From then on, I did not expect anything positive. And the numerous adjournments that were done also was another issue and factor. I finally saw to it that the end result of it would be something very shocking. For me, I am not surprised that it ended up like this.
Well, some people say that justice has been finally served, and of course supporters of Yankuba Touray are saying something different. But the other thing they are saying is that, you know, the legal person who presided over this case has some sort of personal vendetta against Touray and in fact the APRC. What do you think of that?
People are entitled to their opinion. In any case, there will be those that would agree and others would definitely go against it. But for me, it's a case that I've been following with upon all the witnesses called, especially taking the case of Alhaji Kani, the testimonies he gave. He did not throw everything at Yankuba, but they all took responsibility that they partake in it. And I believe if anything or ruling should be done, they should not be left out. I did not read the whole report of the ruling by the judge, but I tend to ask, how about Kanye and those that were mentioned that they partook in that murder? Are they acquitted? And you only take everything and hang it on the shoulders of Yankuba Touray? It's definitely a question I am asking.
And what about the people who are coming out to say that, well, handing him a life sentence was in fact too harsh? What do you think?
I would quite agree to that, because looking at the court, how the procedure was going, I think Yankuba definitely has a case. And I think the judge just looking into the alibi that he gave, that in fact, if you gave a wrong alibi, you have to take responsibility for murdering somebody. I think that is too harsh. It looks like there's something else different from just passing on a verdict.
But some say this is insensitive to the family of Koro, saying that handing Yankuba a life sentence is harsh.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. Did Yankuba actually kill Koro? It involves a group of people. Why he should be singled out and all the blame must rest on his shoulders? That is the question I'm saying. If all those who partake, you hold everybody responsible, then people will have a different perspective than him alone. That is what I find very difficult to understand or to perceive.
Up until the time of his appearance before the TRRC and his arrest, what is Yankuba's relation to the party right now, APRC?
Shortly before he was arrested, I think the executive approached him, told him about the party, some of the constraints the party was going through, and how they would love to have him on board. He pledged that from now on he will render his support monthly, whatever he will be able to contribute financially, he will be there to support the party. So I would say before he was arrested, he was a sympathizer. This we had information about.
And what is the party's relations to Yankuba?
Relation in a sense, Yankuba was part of the junta, and the APRC, when it was formed, Yankuba also was one of the founding members. I think that is no secret. The whole world knows about that. And he has served through the ranks for several years before he even was quit or was taken out of politics. He was the mobilizer general of the APRC.
And what do you make of statements coming from people saying that Yankuba's sentencing today is a big blow to the APRC party? Well, what do you make of statements like that?
Yeah, in a sense, he has a track record with the APRC party. Like I said, he's one of us. But he cannot be abandoned or just thrown in the bush like that. He has gone through the ranks and served immensely through the government and the party itself. Definitely, he's one of us. And
now moving on to another situation. I know you've been making the headlines quite a lot the past week, following this whole confirmation of a coalition between President Barrow's National People's Party and the APRC. What is all this thing about? I know you've appeared on TV before and seemingly confirmed that yes, the APRC will in fact be going into a coalition with NPP. How true is this?
I have never confirmed that. Questions were asked about us discussing and a possible coalition between APRC and NPP, and I did not brush it aside. It's politics, and I did mention it's not only NPP. There are other political parties as well, There's a media propaganda, I would call it, a video that went viral, which a question was asked. I said yes, and the video was cut and they sent it across without airing or allowing people to have access to the answer I gave beyond saying yes. But I always record my interviews when I go to the media, and I did share the interview that very Friday when the program was aired. So people who listened to the whole interview knew exactly what I said. The relationship started with the president a very long time ago in 2017. We know NPP came into being last year. So it was all about APRC, our vehicles, our accounts that were frozen. We've been following, and any complaints or challenges we have, we face those that are in charge of this country, the president and those in authority. We lay our complaints and try to find solution. It's nothing new. NPP as a party emerged, and with all the parties in this country, they have interest in working with the APRC. We said, look, your government or your leader's government, the coalition government, definitely, took away our vehicles and froze our accounts, of which we were told the Janneh Commission would look into it. The report came, the recommendation, no mention of our accounts or our vehicles. We feel it is only but fair that what were taken from us must be given back before anything could happen, in between the two parties. And that's the promise they made, and it's what they're fulfilling. So negotiations for coalition is even yet to begin.
What have they returned so far apart from the 7 vehicles?
It's 10 vehicles actually. 7 arrived, 3 are on the way. I heard also money is given, but I don't know how much. People would say that's funny. The APRC executive, we've resorted to ourselves that there will be no side talks beside our national executive meetings. In our main forum, we don't discuss sensitive issues in audios. Not only audios could be shared, but it's technology. Other people could have access to people's phones and have access to their audios or other files they have in their mobiles. So besides no side talks, when we have executive meetings, that's when we discuss issues that are definitely sensitive. And furthermore, to clarify, we have a committee that is set up that are responsible for negotiating or meeting other political parties, and whatever it's achieved from that, they come back to the executive, brief them. So we believe they have to do a handing over sort of and brief the executive all that transpired. But until that happens, I think it is only that committee who has all information about all that happened, where it came from, how much, and how the vehicles are like. But besides that, that's the only information I have for now.
So the bigger question is, will APRC be putting up a candidate this upcoming elections?
No guarantee. We're working towards it. We might put up a candidate, we might not put up a candidate based on the work we're doing. We're surveying, accessing all possibilities of putting up a candidate. Campaigning, or when it comes to presidential campaigning, it's different from local government elections. You're talking about countrywide, and there's a lot of work to be done, and we have a lot of challenges within ourselves when it comes to grassroots politics. The numbers are there, but it's not only the numbers that you have. Anybody who knows politics will know it is no child's play, especially presidential elections.
So I know I've asked this question on the news review before, but I have to repeat it. The APRC party has never been in disarray as it is right now. It seems that the party is divided into 2. And there are already allegations out there that, some executives of the party, I have seen your name come up on the list, you, Rambo Jatta, and of course, Fabakary Tombong Jatta. They're accusing you of actually trying to sell this party to President Barrow. What is your response to that?
Firstly, there are no 2 APRC. I had audios who talk about that. I am yet to see it, that APRC is divided into 2. There's one National Executive Committee, and we're in charge of running the affairs of the party. I don't see any APRC being divided into 2. Upon the allegations of us selling the party, it's nothing new. And again, I keep asking, how do we sell a political party? I'm still making my findings, and I am yet to know how that is done. I'll give examples and elaborate. 2016, coalition happened, 7 political parties. At some point, some have to leave the coalition, 3 of them, UDP, DOI, PDOIS, and GMC. But none of them sold their party or left their party with the incumbent. And currently, we have 4 other political parties that are still in the coalition, NRP, NCP, PPP, and GPDP, and none of them have sold their party. Those serving in government did not sell their party. Those that left went with their party, they did not sell it. So I am still asking, how is the APRC going to sell their party? Individuals subscribe and belong to political parties. When they want to leave, they leave. They don't take the party along. A political party, if you happen to send it, how about the membership? The person buying, he or she, what is he going to do with the membership? You're going to tie them with ropes and drag them to where they want to be? So for me, saying that the party will be sold, it's definitely very confusing. I'm not understanding how. Allegations are allegations, and all that they are alleging, they cannot prove. I, for one, I have nothing to hide. Recently, there are a lot of audios trying to bring me down, posts on Facebook insulting me. I have a very thick skin. When you try
the surprising thing is that this is also coming from members of the APRC, which is why people are saying that there is division in the party.
Members of the APRC, most of whom releasing these audios, are not in the country. If we say let's move to point A and B, where are they? They're busy in Europe doing whatever they're doing. Even when we say contributions, how much are they contributing? I don't say they're not giving anything, but not coming through the executive for us to know what they put forward. Those on the ground are the ones we are working with. They know what we are, what and what we do. So anybody can talk. I always say talk is cheap. Those talking, let them talk. Those who want to work for the party, let them keep working for the party. The reason I said I have a thick skin, when you try to bring me down, that's when I get stronger and do what I want to do. I'm not somebody that can be bullied. Nobody can intimidate me or to blackmail me. I received some messages not coming from APRC, but people from other political parties, specifically UDP, saying they have audios of me when I used to attack Barrow. They are going to replay it. I said, be my guest. Nothing I have said since I entered politics that I regret. I said, whatever I said yesterday, I will say it today and tomorrow. So nobody can bully me. Whatever you accuse me of, we will live through the times and the proof of that will come to light. Whatever I say in secrecy, remind me, make me know, and I will tell you, yes, I said it, and I will give you the reasons why I said so. So those trying, I believe they better quit. I am not the type.
And talking about allegations and audios, I just saw someone post on Facebook today. There's another audio of Jammeh. I haven't heard it, and I cannot confirm this, that the audio, what he's saying in the audio is basically that, the APRC is not going to go into a coalition with any other political party, something of that sort. Is this out there, or what? Can you confirm?
That's an old audio. It's nothing new. Maybe they're just reposting or sharing it for it to go viral. But it's just an excerpt, I can tell you. But these audios were released at a time when the former president was talking to Rambo. I have those full audios still with me. It was when the issues of those who were expelled from the party, Suleiman Singul Nyase and co., came about. That's when he talked about that APRC were not going into a coalition with any political party. That's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So now that election is almost here and you guys are still undecided on whether you are going to put up a candidate or not, what is APRC doing as of right now as far as grassroots politics is concerned?
With the task we just concluded was to engage our people to get registered, and the voter registration process has just been concluded.
But how do you ask your people to get registered when you're not even sure if you're going to have a candidate or not?
It is their civic right and a civic duty to vote in elections. Whether you put up a candidate or not is everybody's right for us Gambians to tell people to go and register. So we were fulfilling that right. We cannot tell our people, okay, we don't think that we'll put up a candidate, don't register. We cannot deprive them that. And registration is not only about presidential, local government elections are coming. And it's important that they partake in every election as citizens, not only as members of APRC. So people must understand that voting is a right. Even sometimes your members wouldn't vote for you. If you put up a candidate that is not of their choice, they could decide to vote for somebody else. So that's a civic right and duty that every citizen who is of age must register and have a voter's card.
Mm-hmm. So from the way things are going, are there any other political parties that the APRC might go into a coalition with, other than President Barrow and his National People's Party?
Yes, GDC is a possibility. GANU, Gambia Alliance for National Unity, is a possibility. National Unity Party is a possibility. Gambia Action Party is a possibility. All these parties, you know, we're engaging them and there are discussions.
Who is making the first move? Is it the APRC approaching them or the other way around?
All those parties are approaching APRC, showing interest that they want to work with us. Yes.
And now that voter registration is finally over, have you seen the numbers that have registered so far? What do you make of it?
Definitely, I believe it won't be less or equal to the numbers that we saw in the last election, because a lot of young people have now entered into the arena of politics from 2016, and we believe some of them were less than 18 in 2016, and they've already tested how politics feels and what they definitely want for themselves. So that's, I believe, it's what has increased the number more than what we had during the last registration. It's based on the youths who now show interest in politics and want definitely their voices to be heard.
I know you are, of course, part of the young people of this country who are so engaged in politics. But why do you think it is important for Gambians to hand over this country to, you know, to someone who's young?
For me, 65% and counting of this country's population are youths. I feel it's high time they should be represented, even within leadership. All we had in history prove that the youths, if you look at it holistically, as far as politics is concerned, when it comes to leadership role, they've been lacking behind. You know, I feel the youths are saying it's high time that we take charge, we'll work with the elderly, but we have to be in the driving seat.
Thank you, Du. And finally, what do you have to say to your APRC supporters out there and the Gambian people as far as the upcoming elections is concerned?
Peace, as always. This country belongs to all of us, and it's our civic right and duty to make sure peace is what we preach, practice, and it has to prevail. Despite our odds and differences, our rivalry, etc., we all deserve to live in a very peaceful country, and this is something we cannot auction or exchange in anything. Peace is definitely priceless, it's very unique, and we are deserving of peace. Of recent, especially the derogatory messages on social media, it's very worrying. I believe we should take ownership of this country, realize that enmity definitely is not going to sail us across to where we want to reach. Let's practice peace, preach it, so that we'll live through it.
Like you said, based on the recent events that happened in the country, like the Kanilai incident and some other, you know, incidences that happened in other districts or villages, as far as the voter registration is concerned, some people are already saying that post-election violence seems that it's inevitable at this point. What do you think?
I quite disagree with them. I think as Gambians, we should wish well to ourselves. Like I said, let's practice, preach peace, and live through it. People are just putting up expectation. I believe Gambians were not naive to burn our own houses, I would call it. This country belongs to all of us. And I believe the security in this country will man up and take up responsibility to make sure that there will be peace post, pre-elections, you know, and even going, working beyond that. This is my belief, and we'll continue to talk and preach about peace.
Thank you very much, Du, for coming to the Party Network.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. That will be it for News Review today. Do join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.